And in just a few hours, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky and other European leaders will be meeting with President Trump just days after his summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska.
Doug Lazater joins us live from Washington with the latest. Doug.
Todd and Carly, good morning. This is going to be a pretty crowded scene at the White House for this meeting today. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is under enormous pressure, and he is not coming alone. He'll be joined by 7 other European leaders, hoping to make a unified stance in trying to hammer out a peace deal on the best terms possible for Ukraine. President Trump, meantime, already making it clear that Zelensky must be willing to make concessions. He posted this on Truth Social last night. President Zelensky of Ukraine can end the war with Russia almost immediately if he wants to, or he can continue to fight. Remember how it started. No getting back Obama-given Crimea 12 years ago without a shot being fired, and no going into NATO by Ukraine. Some things never changed. Now, today's sit-down is a follow-up to last week's big meeting between President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska. Trump didn't get a ceasefire deal, but he says he's pushing for a larger peace deal while also pushing Russia to accept security guarantees for Ukraine.
We moved the Russians significantly past where we thought they were going to end up. Now, I had 6 separate sessions with President Putin before this, and I thought that we had some measure of success, but this was epic, what we achieved. I think that we are a whole lot closer to eliminating death on the battlefield in Ukraine and Russia.
Now, still, Zelensky is already pushing back against ceding land to Russia, saying Ukraine's constitution makes it impossible. Todd and Carly.
Yeah, and that's one of the many reasons why this is so complicated. Doug Lazater live for us in Washington. Doug, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's bring in national security and military analyst Rebecca Grant. Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us. You know, Steve Witkoff said yesterday on several of the Sunday shows that Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska agreed that the United States and Europe can offer NATO Article 5 style protection, security guarantees to Ukraine, which is an attack on one, is an attack on all. He said that this is the first time he's ever heard Russia agree to this and called it a game changer. This will be the topic of conversation at the White House today. So what does this mean for the United States and our troops in the future?
This means that we are much closer to ending the war in Ukraine. An Article 5 guarantee, that is the mutual self-defense guarantee. It's only been used one time when the European nations supported us on 9/11. So what we see here is the closest possible security ties short of NATO membership. And this really means that Ukraine will have powerful deterrence against a potential future attack from Russia. Implications for the U.S. will continue to stand with our European partners in NATO, and we'll carry that out through multiple domains, air, space, cyber, and all of that. It's going to look pretty similar to our current European force laydown, but including that mutual guarantee for Ukraine, if that's what's offered.
Dr. Grant, Axios is reporting Putin's peace terms. They are as follows. Ukraine cedes control of Donetsk and Luhansk, that, of course, being the Donbass region, freezing the front lines in Kherson and Zaporizhia, and the U.S. recognizes Russia's sovereignty over captured land. And the president appears in at least some posts and some indications from his administration to be okay with ultimately what Putin wants to do there. But are you concerned, as Zelensky has said, that giving Donbass to Russia basically gives Putin a closer staging area for a future invasion?
Well, I'd like to see every last Russian out of Ukraine. Who wouldn't? But as the NATO Secretary General is saying, this is going to be possibly de facto Russian control or occupation, like the Baltics after World War II, like East Germany back during the Cold War. No one's going to say it's not Ukraine's land, but to end the war, they will recognize that Russia stays in part of that. To me, the crucial piece for Ukraine is to get Zaporizhia, the nuclear power plant, to keep enough of the southern ports to be economically viable, and then to get the security and economic guarantees that will bring Ukraine forward, allow for reconstruction, and continue to make it a viable state with a viable economy.
Yeah, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who was at the Alaska summit, was on Mornings with Sunday Morning Futures yesterday, and he reiterated that President Trump does feel like it is Ukraine and Ukraine alone who can decide what territory, if any, they will be giving up. Here is also something that Secretary of State Marco Rubio said yesterday. Listen to this.
But here's what I can tell you for certain. You can't have a peace deal between two warring factions unless both sides agree to give up something and both sides agree that the other side gets something, right? Otherwise, if one side gets everything they want, that's not a peace deal. It's called surrender.
So what do you think it will ultimately be?
Well, and today's meeting, this is bigger than Alaska. This is the European leaders and Zelensky with an excellent package for Ukraine going forward. And I think that Zelensky, as President Trump said, probably should take this deal. They are coming to Washington to show that this is the best possible deal, everything included, whatever the details may be. And I think it will be a very positive step for Ukraine coming out of the White House today.
Quickly, before we let you go, there's been talk of a trilateral meeting as soon as Friday, this Friday, like 5 days away, between Putin, Zelensky, and Trump. Do you see that happening that soon?
Well, who knows? But I'm telling you, keep that threat of the sanctions in place. And Trump has got to keep the pressure on Putin so this doesn't drift along. They should head for a trilateral meeting as soon as possible after today.
And the president's posting a big day at the White House tomorrow, meaning today. Never had so many European leaders at one time. My great honor to host them. He also says big progress on Russia. Stay tuned. We certainly will. Dr. Rebecca Grant, thank you for joining us.
Want even more Fox News on YouTube? Become a Fox News Patriot today. Click join to find out how.